Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a very exciting and something different sort of morning safari. We're going to try focus on the art of tracking, and in particular tracking big game. And tracking dangerous game on foot is something that requires a lot of experience and obviously has an element of danger in it, but it is something that we do out here on a daily basis in order to try and find some of this exciting big game that we always want to share with our viewers on Painted Dog TV. And myself and Andrew got going early this morning, and the first set of tracks that we've come across are the tracks of a female leopard, which of course is my favorite. And I love tracking these cats. It is not easy, but it is a lot of fun and incredibly rewarding if we do find her. So you can clearly see some of these prints of this female leopard registering here. Now, with tracking, you've always got to try and take in as much information as possible. Now, the first thing you want to look for is, are the tracks fresh? And a big part of that is because this particular scenario, this leopard is walking along a road. This is a very popular road that's driven by a lot of vehicles. We, in fact, have driven this road recently. So we, of course, know that her tracks are now on top of our vehicle tracks. So that's the first sign that they're fresh. We then look at how clear they are, and we then also look for what other animals, insects, birds may have walked over her tracks. And what I found interesting here is you follow the tracks of this leopard, and you can see how it first is just left foot, right foot, back foot, and then all of a sudden you can see they sort of bunch up close together here. So that is a way to tell that she slowed down, because that stride has slowed to bring the paws closer together. And you've actually got her two front paws just here. She paused briefly and then went up against this magic guarri tree. Now, leopards love scent marking up against these trees. You'll look at the natural curvature of the leaf. It actually almost forms like a depression in the center. And I think that's why leopards like these trees. It holds that urine for longer. It holds their scent for longer. So she would have turned in here, put her bum up against the guarri bush, just shot a couple jets of urine, and then she continues away from the tree and walks along the road here. Really, really awesome sequence of tracks. And we can just see another perfectly crisp track over here. Now, telling the difference between male and female isn't easy. It comes down to ultimately size of the track. Males have just got much larger paws, so a big paw mark left by the males. But it does get a little bit more difficult, of course, when you have a young male who can confuse you. A big female leopard and a young male leopard's tracks will be quite similar in size, but that just comes down to knowing your area, knowing your leopards, and knowing where they're regularly moving about. Now, on this series of drives that we'll be doing, we are ultimately trying to track down these animals on foot and expose you all to more of the tracking element and being on foot in the bush, which is really cool. So we'll just keep going. It looks like she continued walking along the road here. I can still see her tracks here. So we will do a bit of jumping in and out of the vehicle as we go along, everybody, and we're going to do that right now. We're going to head back to the vehicle and continue. Her tracks are still moving along the road, and to speed up the process, we'll just move slowly along the road with the vehicle and just try to keep an eye on those tracks. As soon as I lose sight of them on the road, we'll just stop. I'll quickly get off and have a look, see if she's left the road, and then we'll carry on. And the beauty of tracking a leopard is, well, the beauty of tracking anything really on foot is, firstly, we get to immerse ourselves in nature on foot. It's a very different experience to being in a vehicle out on a safari. Obviously your senses are all heightened. You become a lot more alert because you're obviously no longer protected by the safety of the vehicle. And yeah, you really get to appreciate so much more about this wilderness area that we're in when you're on foot. You get to hear a lot of different things, you get to touch a lot of the plants, you get to smell all the beautiful smells out here, and you see stuff, amazing stuff, because it's more undisturbed. Of course, we're very quiet when we walk on foot, and the vehicle makes a little bit of noise, so you may be disturbing whatever wildlife it is that you're enjoying. And that's why I also love getting down on foot. It is certainly very peaceful and very exciting all at the same time. Now, while we're tracking a leopard, or whatever we're tracking, we may also discover other animals that we might potentially follow up on and try find on foot. And things that we are hoping to try and find on foot with you guys are leopard, lion, elephant, and rhino. Those are the big game, the dangerous game that we have here on the Rietspruit Game Reserve. And as we go along, if we're struggling with finding one particular animal and we find a fresh set of rhino tracks or elephant tracks, then we'll just change our plan and we'll continue following those tracks. But man, would I love to find a leopard on foot on one of these tracking drives. It'd be incredible. Right, is she still with us? Yes, she is. So still got a lovely set of prints walking along the road here. We've also set out early in the morning because this is when a leopard would still be active. It's also always just so exciting to be the first one out on the road, finding the tracks yourselves and figuring out where everything has moved overnight. Of course, we don't conduct nighttime safaris, we don't drive, no one's driving around on the reserve here late at night, which is when most of these predators are active. So I love it. I love getting out here to try and see who's who and who's where. Really, really cool. One of our missions this morning as well is to hopefully try find some signs of the pride. Nobody knows where they are. They haven't been seen in about 3 days now, which is normal. A number of factors. Could be there's just not been enough vehicles out looking for them. The lions might have killed something and they've been held up in one particular area where they haven't been moving much, so we're not finding their tracks. But really, really hoping we might also discover their tracks at some stage this morning. Oh, she's still going here. So this female leopard is just out on patrol. That's why she's walking along the road like this. Every now and then, normally every sort of 100 yards, she'll just go slightly off the road and leave some of her scent up against one of the bushes, like that quarry tree that we saw back there, the one that she marked earlier. And she'll just keep going. But of course, it can change at any moment. She might pick up on the scent of prey, she might pick up on the scent of another leopard or even lion and change her direction immediately, accordingly. And that's when you really have to almost start thinking like a leopard. Where's a leopard going to go to if she's not walking along the road? And the most obvious thing to check next would be the game path nearest to where you last saw the tracks. Has she moved up a game path? So you'll see I just quickly looked along the road there, didn't see any tracks there. We've just had a split in the road, and she's continued up this way. Very clearly see some of her tracks here on the road. Now, to give an exact answer as to whether these tracks are from early this morning or last night is quite difficult, and proving to be so this morning, as so far I haven't seen any evidence of anything else walking on top of this leopard's tracks. So far so good. I think that She was walking along here pretty recently. The last hour or two would be my guess. Almost certain this is the Kudu Krip 2-3 female, the female leopard that's resident here, very close to our camp, our headquarters. It's the same sort of area, but also the same sort of routine that she follows, the same roads that she likes to walk along. Oh, I just love it. I love looking down and seeing those fresh leopard tracks and knowing that you're still on it. That's the exciting part. Another key part of tracking any big game, like anything in life I suppose, patience, and don't get frustrated. A lot of people starting out in the industry will easily get frustrated and just move on, try go find something else. But just be patient, go back to the last set of tracks you had and look around. Eventually you will find where that animal's gone, but it does take time. The general direction that this leopard is heading as well is a direction towards one of the water holes that we have here on the reserve. Well, in fact, there's a number of them up ahead here. So she might be heading to drink, but it also means we might also find tracks of some of the other large game that have come to drink at the water hole today. Now there is a sneaky little road that goes off to the left here that I have found her tracks on before, so she does sometimes go down there. Look at this beautiful light, this gorgeous morning sunrise. It's just so wonderful listening to the chorus of all these beautiful birds. So I don't have any tracks of this leopard anymore. And another thing to remember is as soon as you lose the tracks, you obviously get off the vehicle and you walk in front of the vehicle just to see if there aren't any more tracks. You've got to go a good distance. We spoke about how these leopards regularly scent mark when they're on these patrols, and so she may have left the road there, come past here, rubbed up against this buffalo thorn here. Another way that leopards mark their territory is by using subcutaneous glands on the sides of their cheeks and they'll rub those cheeks just here. Up against the side of this tree here would be where she could have potentially marked. So in terms of the tracks itself, that leopard would have walked off the road, come through the bush here, marked here, might have gone around these trees and only came back to the road, 50, 60 yards up. So that's why I say when you get off, just to check, now that we've lost the tracks, go a little bit further along the road. Go 100 yards if you need to, just to make sure that that leopard hasn't come back. But there's nothing there. So I think she might have taken this little sneaky road here. Right, so at this point, no tracks of her here, no tracks of her there. Once you've been doing this for a while, you start to almost think like a leopard or a rhino, whatever it is you're tracking, and think about what would make the most sense in terms of where they would move to. And I touched on game paths. I also touched on the fact that these animals would need to go and drink pretty regularly, so are there any water holes close by? Maybe she's changed direction towards the water. But because we don't have any tracks here right now, she's come off somewhere here where there's quite a lot of rock on the road. And what you do next is you just drive more of the road network in this area and you will hopefully pick up on more tracks. Just going to have one last look behind us here. Yeah, like I said, very difficult little stretch of road back there. A lot of rock. She might have turned off there. So let's carry on, guys. We now just hope that we'll find more tracks of her on one of the roads here. And just go with your gut. Go with where you think she's going to go to next. One of the reasons why the tracks may have just all of a sudden ended back there is she might have spotted prey. So she may have gone off the road, sometimes even backtracking on herself to try and get behind cover, get into good cover, and also get downwind of her prey. That's what makes tracking a leopard so difficult. She can change the plan immediately. I haven't seen any further tracks or signs along the road here, so we might have to just go back and double check that sneaky road a little bit further along that one. Rightio, let's go back and check that other road, shall we? No tracks here. And if we don't find anything on the next road, well, that's okay then. That's how it goes with leopard. But we'll keep searching for the other big game. As I mentioned, I'd really love to try and track the pride with you all on foot. Tracking lions, for me at least, is very easy, or a lot easier than tracking some of the other big game. And that's because you've just got so many different sets of tracks to look for. Our pride is a pride of 6 lionesses. So you've got 6 individual sets of tracks. It makes life a lot easier sticking with those sets of tracks versus just one female leopard. Sure, it really is the most perfect morning though. Beautiful out here. See that I just slowed right down here, and the reason for that is there are a couple of game paths that cross the road here that she may have used, including this big prominent one right here. Just quickly see if she went down here. course, when you're tracking, whether it be in a vehicle or on foot, especially, like in moments like these where you've killed the engine, a big part of tracking an animal is, particularly predators, are the alarm calls. So always hoping that you might get a little bit of help when tracking a predator, because an impala or a monkey or even birds have sound the alarm, having spotted that predator on the move, and that obviously speeds up your tracking process really quickly. Another big game path that comes down here. This sneaky little road that we're on comes out pretty close to a big water source up ahead here, a reservoir. And even if there's no further signs of this leopard, it's a productive area for rhino. It's amazing tracking rhino on foot, both black and white rhino. Black obviously being a little bit more nerve-wracking because of their temperament. But their senses are quite different to the cats. You can often get quite close to elephant and rhino on foot. They don't have eyesight like a leopard does or a lion does, and rely very heavily on their sense of smell and hearing. And so if you are quiet in your approach and the wind direction's good, you're downwind of them, you really can get pretty close to these giants of the African bush, which is a phenomenal experience on foot. Something I'm always trying to do with my clients that come out on private safaris with me, is encourage them to get down on foot more. I don't think you need to be on foot constantly. There's pros and cons of being in the vehicle versus being on foot, and generally speaking, the game viewing is always better in a vehicle than it is on foot. But that moment when you are tracking a rhino and then find said rhino on foot is just incredible. It never gets old. Now, I think our leopard has done a Houdini on us. That's okay. It was fun while it lasted. With her general direction that she was moving, we've now checked the only roads that would have made sense for her to continue walking along. And it doesn't appear that she's come out on any of the roads, so she's walking through the bush this morning, potentially hunting. But we'll push on further north. We'll see if there's any sign of rhino or that pride. the road towards the mountains there. Absolutely gorgeous. Kevin for Gareth.
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
What was your route on Blowbank this morning?
I went Vodafone to Boskap along Kruisdale Pad and then on to Lake and past Kruiskrip on the western side, and I'm now on Central Link.
Okay, copy that. Have you had any fresh white rhino tracks?
Yeah, I saw a while fresh as in overnight, but they were going from Kruiskrip heading north and then they turned on to Sunset.
Copy, thanks. You would have heard me, everybody. Bless you, Andrew. You would have heard me chatting to Kevin there. Just getting an update on whether he'd found any fresh tracks recently. He said he did have a set of rhino tracks back this way near one of the water holes, which is where I'm going to go now. Guys, I want to go and see if those tracks are fresh enough for us to follow. But I'm also more just asking where he's moved, whether he's found any tracks of the Pride. But it doesn't sound like it. He's close to us here. And I reckon he's going where I was going to go next, up along one of the main roads that leads up towards Leadwood and towards another waterhole. I'm sure he's looking for the Pride. So we'll let Kevin work that area and we'll go and check on these rhino tracks, see if they're worth following. So the company that I worked for, one of the companies that I worked for as a guide, called And Beyond, have an incredible training program, and once you've been guiding for a couple of years, if you're interested, you can then take up the training of walking dangerous game. And you need to track and find elephant, buffalo and rhino on foot, and they take you through the entire process of how to do it, how to identify fresh tracks versus not fresh tracks, which is why I say I need to go and just see if these tracks are worth following of the rhino that Kevin's reported. Some very fond memories. Sorry everybody, just busy listening to the updates on the radio there. And completely lost my train of thought. I can't even remember what I was trying to say there. We're not too far now from the little water hole where Kevin located the rhino tracks. We'll start there. Squirrel. Is that squirrel alarm calling? Or is it just saying good morning to one of its friends? I can see other squirrels jumping around here. Nah, I can see one low down there too. They've just woken up and they're busy greeting one another. Sometimes they'll alarm call when they've seen predators, but they'll also make a very similar sound over territory. Squirrels are surprisingly very territorial, so they will warn off other squirrels to their patch, and then it is also, of course, a means of communicating with each other. Trying to warm up in that gorgeous early morning sunshine. You see, folks, it's not only the big game that we track. Right. Leave that little squirrel to his sunbathing. Let's go check these rhino tracks. Very happy birds this morning. This is the first morning we've had in a little while where we've got a full sunrise, full sunshine, which of course makes birds very happy, warms them up nicely, but also means that there's going to be a lot more insect activity today. Lots of food on offer. Right, so this is the little waterhole where Kevin reported seeing fresh white rhino tracks. Oh my goodness, there's an elephant right here. I just heard a branch break and I was like, hey, what is that? Well, there you go, everybody. Look at how good I tracked down an elephant. Oh, that is epic. Looks like the big bull. Yes, indeed. It is he. Oh, that is just such a treat. He's coming for a drink. Now that's pretty damn good timing, I must say. Right, I'm just going to reposition the vehicle here quick, everybody. Sorry about this. I just know that he's still in must, this bull, and I want to give him a bit more space at the water here so that he doesn't need to feel uncomfortable. Oh, look at that. Just amazing. I've located the elephant bull with a collar. He's drinking at Kudu Krip. That is incredible. I love it when the water runs out of their mouth like that. Look at how he clears the water with his trunk, everybody. Elephants are partial to clean water. It's amazing how they'll clean it. There's obviously something on the surface of the water he didn't like there, and that's why he used the trunk just to clear the debris before he sucked it up into his trunk. Oh, that's amazing. just now busy using my binoculars to have a look at the back legs of this bull, just to see if there's still any signs of must. They constantly dribble a combination of semen and urine, which drips and slides down their back legs, but it's almost dried up, and there's just a small amount of secretion coming out of the temporal gland. So I think this bull's must cycle is actually now just starting to come to an end. It's also why he's probably not with the herd anymore. Now the question remains, has he mated with any of our cows? Very possible, but there's no record of it yet. Nobody has seen him mating yet. But he has spent the entire, what is it now, 2 months almost, since he was released onto this reserve with the herd. Oh, here comes some poo. Oh, wow. Incredible. I hope you all got to hear that. Elephants communicating. That's very interesting. Maybe there are other elephants nearby. Very distinctive rumbling in the stomach. One of the ways that elephants communicate, and certainly one of the ways that we can hear. That's audible to our ears. Most of their communication's infrasonic, so you don't actually usually hear it. They certainly can, using special receptors in the soles of their feet. Plus their hearing's very good as well. But they don't make that sort of a communication, the stomach rumbling we've just heard, willy-nilly. They don't do it for no particular reason. He is communicating with other elephants. Possibly the younger bull, but maybe even the herd. Wow, listen to those sounds. Incredible. Just resting the trunk. On the rim of this little reservoir. Look at that, eh? Water's still in the trunk. Jeez, like a hose pipe, you can hear it going down his throat. It's unreal. Oh, beautiful looking, seeing the dust kick up from his feet. Oh, bit of a head shake. Sometimes does that when other elephants are approaching. Could also be because of us. See the trunk there? He's trying to smell what's on the wind. He's trying to potentially smell us or smell another animal that's nearby. such a presence. Taking interest in this little hide. Look at that, he's rubbing his trunk up against the roof of the hide, resting it there even. That trunk weighs a lot, everybody. So elephants often have to rest them. That's incredible. As we know, these animals are incredibly intelligent. And with that intelligence comes a very inquisitive nature. What is he doing there? Imagine you were in that hide right now, how your sphincter would be working overtime. It would be bad. One of those moments where you just wish somebody could swallow you up. Oh my word, this is so cool. Well, safe to say that the big game, dangerous game tracking this morning has been very successful. Even though we didn't have a single elephant track up until this point, who cares? Just such a special moment spent with the biggest guy here on the Rietspruit Game Reserve. Just going to wait to see what this elephant does here, everybody. Where he's going to move to next. But I also really don't want to start the car until he's moved off. Don't want to startle him unnecessarily. But also just so cool spending this time with him. Looks like he's chewing on something there. He's definitely found something to feed on just on the other side of the hide here. Can't really make out what it is. Quite a glare here right now. Something hard. Looked like he just took a piece of the hide with him there. leaning up against the hide. And there he goes. Shaking his head again. I do sometimes wonder if they shake their heads just to get some of the dust off of their heads. Oh, that was just so cool, man. Oh, it's busy attacking a tree. Interesting with the direction he's headed here as well, everybody. He's going straight back the way he came. Not before feeding on this knobthorn tree by the looks of things. Wow, look at this, guys. No ways. Is he going to push that whole tree down? No ways. Look at this. Look at the strength of this animal. He is shaking that entire tree, which stand. Oh my God, he's uprooting it. No ways. Oh my God. Jeez, that is ridiculous. Guys, he's just pushed over a knobthorn tree that is literally about 40 foot tall. And look at what he's doing now. This is why he's pushed it over. He wants the roots. It's not always the browse from the top of the tree that they're after, everybody. It's the roots. Of course, these roots are full of nutrients and water. Absolutely insane to see that strength. Holy smokes. Wow. Oh my God, I'm so glad we captured that. Incredible moment. It is an amazing show of strength right there, a show of force. He's not liking the roots he's found so far. It's amazing though how they know exactly what they're doing and how dexterous this trunk is. Check there, he's just broken off a branch, a root rather. They certainly are shapers of their environment, aren't they? These elephants. I mean, that tree, guys. Oh, there, he's pushing it some more. That tree has got to be, I don't know, a couple decades old. Look at that tree. My God. Unreal. So it appears he wasn't all that happy with the roots that became exposed here, which is interesting. He's now focusing on the browse. No, not another one. So they'll sometimes shake trees like this as well, just to get the pods to drop. That might have been what that was. Unbelievable. It's hardly fed on this tree at all. Now, one thing I do know is that elephants will sometimes push trees over and return to them at a later stage, days later, weeks later, and come and feed on them again. I must actually read into that some more. There must be a reason for that. There must be a chemical change in the tree itself, I think, as to why they do that. Also, maybe the trees start to soften over time. He's found, what is he feeding on there? Some raisin. Yeah. White raisin bush. Definitely one of their favorites, and certainly one of the species of plants that we do want these elephants to feed on more regularly here, because the raisin is an invasive species. Ah, too cool. Alright guys, I think we're gonna love and leave this absolutely wonderful creature and get back to trying to track something on foot. Amazing. I love these unexpected moments when you're in the bush. They are the best.
On a junction with Rhino Road. Just come through on the outside. Given we've got one on our side, and I can see 3, 4 on BTC side. So they've been around on the BTC side for a few days. There should be 7 males, one with a collar.
So I'm just busy looking at the rhino tracks here, everybody, that Kevin reported. They are relatively fresh. These rhino came to drink at the same waterhole where that elephants just drank now. But I am seeing civet tracks on top of the rhino's tracks, which tells me that these tracks were definitely from last night, the tracks of the rhino. Sort of late last night, yesterday afternoon sometime, they came to drink here. So we'll just go up ahead to the next intersection and just see which way they've gone. Again, just trying to speed up the tracking process here. These tracks have all been driven over. Looks like they went in there. We'll see if we catch them on the next road up. I'm leaving that elephant bull still feeding in the tree line just on the northeastern side of Kudu Krip, leaving him unattended. Still no tracks of the Pride. Where are they hiding? Aha. Jackpot. So they did come through here as we'd hoped. Everybody, those white rhino that Kevin had the tracks of earlier. And as you can see, very kindly deposited some poop here next to the road. I still think that this is yesterday. Yeah, ice cold. So when you open up white rhino's dung or black rhino's dung and you just touch it gently, you'll get a gauge on the temperature of said dung, and it stays warm for usually about 2 hours, and then it's cold. The whole ball is cold, depending on the surrounding climate, the temperature at the time here. Looks like there were 2 of them. Maybe a mother and calf, one of the older calves. But that's the freshest sign of rhino we've certainly seen so far. I'm just going to roll a little bit further up the road to show you all the beautiful rhino tracks, and we may just for the time being continue in the vehicle, well, at least while the tracks are on the road. Looks like they might have gone off the road here again, but I just want to quickly show everybody these tracks. Beautiful tracks just here in front of the shadow. So white rhino have a much larger track than black rhino. Also the toes sit differently. The black rhino doesn't have as sort of larger middle toe that extends so far away from these 2 side toes. They're all sort of more bunched up together. It's a much smaller track, the black rhino. I think this is the calf, that obviously being the middle toe, this being the left toe, that being the right toe, and then the heel, the pad runs through here and almost forms like a W shape, the base of a white rhino's track. A black rhino doesn't have this little indent at the base of its heel here. It's the bottom of its pad will almost be level like that. So quite different to black rhino. And yeah, it looks like they've gone in here. Now, because I know exactly how the road goes up ahead here, I think we're going to find their tracks on the road just a bit further up ahead, so we'll just check that. quickly shoot up ahead there. Remembering, of course, everybody, that these tracks are from yesterday evening. So the rhino could be a good distance from here still. And key part of this haul is obviously trying to get to the animals as quickly as we can. We're obviously on limited time here. So let's just quickly shoot around to where I think they're going to pop out. So the rhino would have gone to have a drink at that little water hole, would have moved through this area grazing before settling in for the night. Rhino don't like to move much at night. They often sleep during the night, actually lying down, and could still be lying down somewhere in this area. Rhinos are pretty lazy at getting up in the mornings. They take their time. Some very old tracks of that tiny little calf here as well. That 4-month-old calf that we had a lovely sighting of not too long ago at the very same waterhole we were just at with the elephant. Quite surprised we haven't seen those rhinos' tracks crossing this road yet. Maybe they're sleeping somewhere up here. Going the direction we're going now, I wouldn't be surprised if we bump into that big elephant bull again. We're basically heading straight back toward the waterhole where we left him. Right, sorry everybody, I'm going to have to just quickly jump out. I'm literally burning up. It's getting hot now. Which also might mean that these rhino are probably already on the move, grazing and heading for water. Might have missed that rhino's tracks back in there. So I'm just going to quickly shoot back to where the last tracks were. One thing, you know, this whole tracking exercise will certainly explain to all of you, or show to all of you, is that it's a process, and it sometimes takes guides and trackers a bit of time to find the animals that we're always trying to show our guests. It's not always, you know, just drive out there and see something. It takes effort and skill, of course. Right, so this is where they went in here, everybody. They went in on this game path. So we're going to jump off the vehicle here, everybody, and follow these tracks. And see if we get lucky. Right, everybody, we're going to take the camera off now and go for a walk. See if we can track down these rhino. Yeah, they are certainly not the freshest tracks. As we mentioned, they are from last night sometime. But we did circle the block now and couldn't find any tracks, or at least what we saw. We didn't see any tracks of these rhino moving out of this block. So I'm hoping we might get lucky. They might be still feeding in this area. Probably slept somewhere nearby here. And because the temperature has now risen, could be up and about feeding. So we're going to head in there now and see if we get lucky. You can clearly see the tracks here now, everybody. These rhino are following a distinctive game trail, a game path that goes along the road here, through the bush here. And whilst they're walking on a game trail, it's relatively easy to follow their tracks. So they've changed direction just back here. We're going to have to circle back and just see if we can figure out where they've gone to. It obviously gets quite tricky as you move into longer grass like we have here. It's not as easy to then see the tracks. So I'm struggling to see more tracks here. But what we'll do is we'll just go on gut now. There's certainly signs of lots of rhino that have been in this block. Here. These rhino lay down here at some stage. You can see the stain on the grass there where one of these rhino urinated. And there are a set of fresh tracks here too. So Usually when you see urine built up like that, that's because they were urinating while they were lying down. And you also look at the grass, how it's flattened over here. So these rhino lay down under this tree, but they've got up and moved. That urine, judging by how dry it is still from yesterday. Now what's also happening at the moment is, as it's got a little bit warmer, there's a berg wind that's busy coming off the mountain, and it's picked up the wind quite a bit, which, as we know, can quite unsettle rhino. And sometimes what they'll do is they try and get cover from the wind, so they'll push into thicker bush to try and get cover from the wind. Rhino rely so much on their sense of hearing and sense of smell. And when the wind starts blowing like this, they feel a little bit unsettled because they can't really rely on those senses. It mucks with their senses. So they'll very often move into thicker bush. It also means we've just got to be really alert. We don't want to unsettle them. So I spoke about earlier just sticking with your gut. There were no tracks leading to this point, but here again are the rhino's tracks. You can clearly, immediately see that big middle toe here. So we're walking along this game trail here now, everybody. So we're definitely on the right track. So they split right here. One set of tracks goes that way around this tree, and the other set continues here. Remember, there's two rhino that we're tracking. I think it's a mother and a calf. We saw them recently at this waterhole, an older calf which is almost 3 years old. And so they will sometimes split while they're grazing. So we've lost the tracks back here again. Whilst rhinos are on the move grazing, they move a lot. They don't necessarily just walk in one straight line. They graze, sometimes doing figure of eights. They'll sometimes circle back on themselves. And so tracks could be going anywhere. And that's when you have to just stop, slow down and look around you and think, if you were rhino grazing in this little open patch surrounded by these big trees, what would be your next route? Where would you go next? And my gut tells me they probably walked along here. Yeah, here we go. There's tracks here again. It's not the clearest track in the world, but an aardvark walked across the road here. I just saw one of his tracks back there, which I unfortunately stood on, but you can see it here. This is an aardvark track. 3 long sausage-like toes, which are certainly a part of the toe, but the last bit of the toe is actually the nail. The nails are incredibly long on an aardvark. And so this is its front left paw of this aardvark that then put its front left paw there and its front right paw here. Went straight across the road here. Very cool. You don't often see aardvark tracks. You don't often see aardvark in general. I'm just going to go back along the road here. Now this is the very road we drove on just before we started the walk. Looks like these rhino did some more of these figure of eights whilst they were grazing here. And we must have missed where they crossed the road somewhere here. Here we go. Come see here, everybody. You can see the rhino's track just there. That's the left toe. That's the front toe over here. What's interesting is you look at this little piece of grass that I'm touching here. If it was very fresh, that grass would probably still be wedged in the sand, but it's popped itself back up over time, overnight still, I think. So these rhino crossed through here. You're having fun ducking under all the trees there, Andrew. Now, if memory serves me correctly, we must be getting relatively close to one of these dry riverbeds, which is down here to our right. And very possible that that's where these rhino decided to go and eventually sleep for the night. So I'm sure we're going to end up there. Again, we've lost the tracks, so we just go back to gut. Back on it. Tracks are here again. They're going straight towards this riverbed. Amazing when you consider the type of terrain that we're walking through. You look ahead of you and you just think, how on earth does a 2.5 ton animal get through all of these tight gaps? But of course rhino have very thick skin, so for them they'll scratch up against these branches, no problem. But that's something that I'll be listening for, is that the scratching on their thick hide. We obviously don't want to get too close to these rhino when we're on foot, because it's a potentially dangerous situation, but at the same time I never want to disturb game on foot. The tracks are looking better. We're on their tracks right here, going towards the riverbed. Very interesting. Come look at this here. Rhinos are not the only animals that have walked through here recently. That is a distinctive track of an elephant. And it's the herd. I can tell by the size of the track. The females have got smaller feet than the males. So the herd of elephants were going that direction. The rhino went back this way. Can smell the elephants. This is quite fresh, everybody. Still hot. Very fresh. So now it's not only the rhino that we could potentially come across in here, it's the elephants too. Fortunately with elephants, most of the time, you'll hear them long before you get to them. You'll hear them feeding, you'll hear them breaking branches. But again, I mean, just look at how thick this area is that we're in both of the two largest land mammals here, walking through this thick stuff. Gee whiz, it gets quite nasty in here, Andrew. It's very thick. How low can you go? Another white rhino track here, guys. This is a bull. It's not the one that we were originally tracking, but it's really cool just to again see that amazing print. Black rhino. Look at that, guys. White rhino, black rhino. You can now clearly see the difference. Now remember, these are both bulls. These are both male rhino. The white rhino, so much larger than the black, and you see how the toes are shaped differently. They almost all come together, making like a dome shape at the top of the track. You can almost draw the outline right around the toes. White rhino, very different. Got these indents, clear indents in between the toes. Also, back of the heel, flat heel on the black rhino. And that's the white rhino. It's not really that clear on this one, but it's got a bit of a W shape in it here. Yes, that's so cool to have them both here, both tracks together. mud wallow here. There's no water in it right now. There's no mud right now. But you never know, those rhino could have come past this point. The one thing that's not working in our favour with the general direction of the way the rhino are moving, the wind's doing the same thing. So our wind, our scent, if these rhino are up and about and up ahead here, very likely they might have smelt us already, and that would make them move on. Just heard something in the bushes there, but it's something small, I think. Unfortunately, it looks like those rhinos' tracks have run dry, everybody. Certainly of the two that were following the mother and calf. But we're very close to that riverbed now, so I just want to get into the riverbed and just see. Maybe we're lucky. They could be grazing close by to it. Yeah, listen to that beautiful call. Gorgeous bushrack. Certainly one of the most difficult birds to see in the bush. Very shy animal, shy bird. We'll see if we can coax it out. So it'll be somewhere in this thicket here. Sometimes you can coax them out just to briefly come up to the top of the canopy and look at you before diving back into the thick brush. Psh, 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 psh. Psh, 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 psh. Psh, 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 psh. Psh, 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 psh. Not playing ball. Oh, but it's a beautiful bird, that. Gorgeous bushrack. See the little drag mark across the road there. Two lizards. Two different lizards. I initially thought it was going to be porcupine. But two lizards crossed the road. I'm guessing maybe giant plated lizard. How are we doing on time there, Andrew? Oh! 7 minutes to find a rhino on foot. Right, we're pretty much approaching the riverbed here now, everybody, and I'd imagine probably going to find at least some sign of these rhino. I stopped there because I thought I heard oxpeckers. That's another thing you want to be hearing when you're tracking rhino, because almost always rhino will have some of these red-billed oxpeckers, birds that are sitting on their backs feeding on the ticks and parasites on the rhino's skin. And if you hear those calls, then you know you might be very close. But I'm not sure that was definitely oxpecker. Let's see if there's a way into the river here. Nope. Too steep of a bank. I think Andrew would do roly-polies if we went down there. See if there's a way in here. Watch your step, Andrew. A beautiful view up this riverbed, eh? No rhino sleeping there. No tracks here either. spoke about it before though, everybody. Being down on foot in the bush is just always so very special. You really do soak up everything when you're walking, and it just slows everything right down. Right, so no rhino this time, but still such an incredible walk. Yeah, so exciting, you know, following the tracks of those rhino, losing them, finding them again, seeing where they lay down, seeing where they were grazing, where one of them urinated, getting down low in the jungle there with Andrew, and then also, of course, finding the very fresh signs of the elephant herd too. Just amazing. But yeah, we're going to wrap it up here, everybody. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll be back at it again very soon. And fingers crossed, we'll actually get to track down and see some of the big game on foot. We'll see you soon.